Welcome to a football show here, Monday edition of the pod. We are back in the Cast Collective studio here on Music Row in the heart of Nashville. His name is Zach. My name is Braden. If you have any technical difficulties, we're going to work through them here together as a family. Again, Zach, Braden Football Show brought to you by Kingston Group here. BuildKG.com is the website. If you have any needs for your house, any major renovations, if you want to build a custom house, Zach.
Oh, I like it.
A whole entire custom house, maybe a wing.
A custom tiny house.
They probably could do that. I don't understand the people that want to live in tiny houses, but listen, I get it when you're retired and the kids are out of the house and you want to see the country. I get that maybe. But in one place, I don't know. I don't get that. But I guess Kingston Group could probably do that too. Custom, obviously Nashville's award-winning. I'm going to get through this, Zach.
All right.
Nashville's award-winning custom home and remodeling firm, BuildKG.com. Cast Collective is our location. If you want to host a small event of any kind, make sure you check them out. TheCastCollective.com. And I believe it's now at the Cast Collective on Instagram as well. So they've commandeered the Cast Collective handle from the previous imposters.
It's tough to go to these sites where all their social tags are the same. So it's nice to have our on branding. Right. Everything's the same. You can go everywhere.
So if you want to follow Zach, follow him at FWordsPod.
Yeah, it's easy.
You can follow me.
I don't have another account.
Yeah,
it's at FWordsPod.
That's the only one you use. You can follow me. At Braden Gall. And we, of course, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Turn on all the YouTube stuff.
Yes.
Because
all the notifications.
Here's the deal. We want to take your comments, but I just got to say, after coming back from Atlanta and SEC Media Days, camp opens up on Wednesday. We got Vrabel on Tuesday. We're back now in our studio in our regular time slot. We're going to talk
How many Fat Burks questions will Vrabel get on Tuesday?
God. I don't know. Over under 2.5.
I like it. I would probably take the under because I think after the second one, it's like D-Day.
Well, it's going to be gauging his reaction to the first one. And if there's a smart follow-up, then maybe there's a third that gets us to the stupidity portion of the interview in the press conference. But again, he'll be, I believe, 11 a.m. on Tuesday. And then obviously practice, I believe, at 9:30 the rest of the week and starting on Wednesday. So cannot wait. The point is, I bring all that up, Zach, to say I just – SEC football this year, there's all this chaos in college football, but I think I left, and we talked about this on our last episode, with how wide open and great and dramatic and fun the league is going to be this year. The NFL is here now, and I think it is going to be a great and fun and dramatic and wide open AFC race with great teams in every division. And I just think it's okay to take a second and just get excited about football being back, folks.
The AFC is stacked. It's the most stacked the AFC has ever been, and it's clearly the better of the two conferences by far.
I agree.
As far as the quality of teams in there. I mean, what better storyline to start us off today, start the NFL season off today than Tyreek Hill saying that he is playing with the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, when by all factual evidence, he is not.
Well, and I think this has now been 3 times now, and I don't know why we're
3 or 4.
I don't know why we talk about Tyreek Hill this much. But like one time it's like he's got the most perfect balls ever.
Right.
No pun intended. And then it's the second time he's like, oh, this is his last chance.
Yeah.
And then now it's like most efficient quarterback. What'd you say?
He's the most accurate quarterback.
Accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. What are we doing, Tyreek?
I know. He's just setting himself up for failure, and I'm here for it, right? I mean, he's going to make himself look like a big idiot when Tua is not what Tyreek needs, and he's going to act out on the sidelines, and he's going to be the one that looks like an idiot, not Tua.
So I don't want to make this about the media or about our show or about,
well, it's all about us.
But it is all about us. We can go right to Taylor Lewan on this. Like, there is space and time for you, the fan who loves the Titans, to consume really fun and awesome and hilarious and engaging Taylor Lewan content. But you also need people like us to also talk about the team objectively, because he is a player on the team. He cannot be objective. I love the fact that we now have access to players more than ever before, that Tyreek Hill can have a podcast and Taylor Lewan can be this bigger than life persona elsewhere. That's a good thing for you, the fans. You also need to have the other thing, which is, hey, I don't think they should have done that on that play, or hired or fired that guy. You kind of need them both to be a full, complete, holistic fan.
Yeah.
It's
hard for, I think, players to separate themselves from and give a overview, or what is a high level view of the team itself, to be able to give you really what they should be saying, other than what they want to say, if that makes sense.
So basically, no empty calories on this show.
Right.
Consume all the other stuff you want. If you want Homer Radio, consume that too, man. If you want player media, consume that too. If you want straight shit about the Titans, this is where you come.
That's why you turn on your notifications. That's why you follow us on Twitter. That's why you got to tell all your friends and all your family and all your enemies and everybody. Tell your dogs, your birds, all that stuff.
The dog's thumbs don't work the Twitter machine as well.
It's what the nose is for.
That's true. Just pawing at the like button.
Titans training camp is here.
It is. The Titans training camp is here. I can't wait. Football is here. Pads are popping. It's going to be.
Pads will be popping.
They will be. It's going to be hot as hell. And I don't know. What are you most looking forward to in general now that we're actually here? Because to me, it's just like I want to see people line up in formations against each other with fully formed pads and things on to actually hit each other. That's what I can't wait.
That's what I'm here for. I'm not here for, seeing someone go up for a one-handed catch when they're not being covered, or someone, or a wide receiver beating the DB in one-on-ones. That stuff's all serves its purpose, but that's not really what's going to tell you what's really happening. And to me, it's the 11-on-11 drills, the red zone drills, all this. Yep. The important stuff is that stuff. That's the stuff that gets me excited. What is going on in 11-on-11s? Well, what is Ryan Tannehill seeing while he's playing our defense, and is the defense covering these? You could say inexperienced wide receivers. I mean,
one could say,
one could say.
And we'll get to all the things that we're going to be looking at, sort of those types of things coming up for camp. We'll get to a lot of that stuff here coming up in just a few minutes. But injuries, I guess we'll start with, and this has to include Treylon Burks' weight, because we did have some news. The Athletics football show, which is not to be confused with a football show.
Yes.
Diana Rossini was on there talking about how he looks much better and he's lost his weight and there's buy-in, and this is from an organization that doesn't give a lot of information. Monty Rice was on the PUP list. Tommy Hudson, which we talked about, was probably not maybe going to make the team as the fourth tight end. He's on the PUP list, and then backup kicker Caleb Shudak is on the PUP list as well. So not a whole lot of news for the Titans in terms of injuries. James Robinson for Jacksonville's not on there. Got some John Mechie news that's really scary, of course.
Yeah, that sucks.
That cancer stuff.
Broke my heart.
Like, God, it's awful. Baltimore's got a ton of people on the PUP list. Darius Leonard's on the PUP list for Indianapolis,
which is expected, but it is something to monitor, because this is a new defensive system. So you need reps in a new defensive system, no matter how good you are. Now, if he's ready by week one and he missed all of it, it may take someone like Darius Leonard 2 or 3 weeks to adjust. He may adjust quicker than most linebackers, but look at Julio Jones, who missed all of the offseason, and we all thought that Hall of Fame player would come right in, and who cares about chemistry? Chemistry matters. I've learned my mistake.
that they need some reps, which again, we'll get to reps in just a second. But I'm curious, you said on our defensive episode, go back and listen to our defensive episode from a couple of weeks ago before media days, where you thought inside linebacker was a real big strength of this team. There's a lot of depth. You like all the pieces. Monty Rice, it turns out it was an Achilles injury, which is long been reported, but he's on the PUP list to start. Is that change your opinion of the depth? Or
that's where the depth comes into play, in my opinion. So Dylan Cole let's say that it takes Monty Rice, all the way up to kind of like Darius Leonard. Like I said, maybe it takes him all the way up to the preseason. Maybe it takes him into the regular season. The good news is that Dylan Cole can play for 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Can you rely on Dylan Cole to play a big part on this defense? Probably not. But they're also going to be looking at a lot of dime packages, and that's where the cornerbacks come in. They may not even use Monty Rice or Dylan Cole, and they may just be using Theo Jackson instead of Monty Rice on those third downs and stuff like that. So to me, it's great that the most notable player to be on the PUP list is Monty Rice, which is your third inside linebacker.
Yes, your backup inside linebacker is the most important piece you're missing.
No Caleb Farley. He's clear.
I feel like we should
Robert Woods is clear. But I think the big one is Aaron Brewer.
Okay.
Because Aaron Brewer was not practicing, because of injury and health issues, and now he's not on the PUP list. That means the left guard competition is good to go.
Wide open.
They don't feel that he needs to be on the PUP list and take a couple extra breaks. That's good news for that position, for the offensive line, especially because we've harped on this show the continuity and to get your offensive line set, your starting offensive line set as early as possible in training camp to build that chemistry and not take 8 weeks to build chemistry.
No,
you hear me?
No, we don't.
You hear me, Keith Carter? Get this set.
The evolution of Zach Lyons happening right before you. Donovan Romaine, by the way, great last name. It's like the best lettuce that there is. Donovan Romaine here on the YouTube says, I feel good about Rice being the number 3 ILB. This time while he is out, we'll allow them to develop more ILB depth, inside linebacker depth. That is kind of what you're saying. I do think they need to find the true number 4. If that's Cole already, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't, how long can he be a true number 4? Like I want Rice healthy in the number 3 spot.
Yeah.
But to Donovan's point, building the depth and allowing guys to get some reps is always a good thing, especially in camp, because again, we don't have games yet.
Right.
We're still a ways away from games. So,
I think if they were worried about Monty Rice being out longer term, then instead of cutting Rodney Clemens to pick up Joshua Kalu, who's a defensive back, they would have picked up another linebacker.
I think that's a valid point. That's astute observation by you, sir.
Astute.
Do you want to mention the Burks thing here?
I think it's important that he wasn't on there, because then I know this is asking a lot, but maybe people will shut the fuck up about it. I wish I could use that word the way you do. It's perfection.
You're very good at like driving home the point you want to use.
Yeah.
And you use the word brilliantly. I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I work really hard at it.
Lots of reps.
I'm sick and tired of, I have this guy, I think his name is Kyle Fulton on Twitter, who's been jumping in my mentions lately, saying that the Titans are gaslighting its fan base by saying that Burks is a good player. They're like, what Diana Rossini was fed is gaslighting in its purest form.
Well, we're gonna find out in like 2 days.
Here's the thing, and he brought up that this guy's 20 pounds overweight, and well, first off, we don't know how much he weighed at training camp, but we do know at combine and pro day he was like 225 to 230. That's not 240, and then he did play. Rumors have it, according to Albert Breer, they played at 240 in Arkansas. Well, if he played at 240 in Arkansas and he played to the caliber of being a first-round draft pick, who gives a shit how much this guy weighs?
If he was here's all you need to know about the 240 at Arkansas thing. Watch the games.
Yeah.
If you watch the games and you are concerned about his size or weight, I don't know what to tell you at that point, because the dude was a stud.
I'll worry when he's 280 pounds.
Right. Well, or how about let's see him on the field.
Yeah.
Practicing. Now, to your, you've been on this the whole time. It could be something we need to track and pay attention to, but it is not currently an issue until it becomes an issue. And right now, it's not an issue because they haven't practiced yet. Camp's not open yet, and we're not near a game week. So let's react when there is something to react to.
And this guy should be an Eagles fan, because he is so butthurt about the Tennessee Titans not signing AJ Brown. He hates Treylon Burks. It doesn't matter. He's just butthurt.
Donnie said he wanted to block Kyle this weekend. That's 2 mentions for Kyle. Yeah. That's 3 now. No more. No more on the show.
But here's the thing I will say about this. If he's 240 pounds at Arkansas, but when you look at the stats, he put up a better stat line at 240 pounds than AJ Brown.
Don't poke the hive here. The AJ hive.
Comparing the final year of college stats, you're talking about AJ Brown. He has a better catch rate. He has better yards per reception. He has more yards after the catch, and 7.1 yards after catch per reception for AJ Brown, 9.3 yards after catch per reception for Treylon Burks, fat ass. And then he had more touchdowns, more deep yards, and more deep catches. So this fat piece of shit, Treylon Burks, somehow was able to overcome obesity.
How did he do it?
I don't know. He's able to overcome obesity and be better than AJ Brown was,
who famously eats at terrible fast food restaurants.
He eats at Chipotle. Listen, here's the thing. If he was 240 then, when he became a first-round draft pick, because of what he did in Arkansas at 240 pounds with nobody. He counted for like 37% of their offensive.
Well, that's another don't miss the forest through the trees here, folks, because details and context and nuance matters. And that Ole Miss offense was with like Dawson Knox and DeMarcus Lodge and DK Metcalf, with Jordan Ta'amu running an offense that scored 1 billion points. This was Arkansas run first with a first-year quarterback, KJ Jefferson, Sam Pittman, blue collar type of team that wants to run more like a Titan style offense, frankly. So like, again, that type of context matters. Here's the other question I have.
There's so much alike in my opinion, because the AJ Brown, he got knocked for slot snaps, and this guy's getting knocked for slot snaps.
Right. Damn slot snaps. Here's the other thing. Why is it that the boar hunting thing seems to come up with the weight thing? Like, I don't know why they are Like everyone's like, oh, if he wasn't boar hunting, maybe he'd be in shape. I'm like, I don't understand how they're connected.
I guess that's because Sam Pittman's saying that, and I don't know.
Like again, why does that put you? Wouldn't you be in better shape if you were out chasing boars?
Yeah,
in theory,
I don't. Maybe that's the only thing he's doing. But again, now he's in an NFL level program,
professional adult. You mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think. Listen, how about this? When you are 21 years old and you go from a college offense to a professional offense and you get paid millions of dollars to move to a new city that you live in for the first time, dealing with a professional business that you are now operating in for the first time with expectations that you've never had to deal with before your entire life as a 21-year-old human being, maybe we give them a little bit of slack.
We should. I mean, I think that in the end, I think people who are just so down on Treylon Burks, I saw someone compare him to Kenny Britt. They think he's going to be a more legal Kenny Britt.
Listen, I love bathing in the Twitter sewers. I feel like sometimes you need
that was in a direct message. That was in a direct message chat. So I called that guy out.
Kenneth on the chat says, I think minicamp OTAs was a wake-up call for Treylon. I'll support him till, like I said, the play on the field is affected, which is frankly what you have said from the beginning.
I think that while it is a deal, it's not a major deal or big deal or skies falling because I need to have Twitter views kind of deal.
It's not a thing. It could be a thing. It's a thing we'll track until it becomes a thing, but right now it's not a thing.
Stoney brings up a good point. Everyone knows you have to be super fat to tempt the boars out of hiding and lure them in.
So he's using himself as bait.
He's using himself as bait.
You better have some getaway speed because the boars will get you, man. I don't know about that. Or really good with a knife, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. All right, are we done? Are we done with the checking of the bags conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think we're good.
Okay, all right, let's move the fuck on here.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Key issues at camp to watch is sort of a broad topic, broad generalization here. There are things that you are interested in that you want to see, and again, this is what we love about camp. We get to see these situations. What are those situations for Titans fans, Zach?
Well, I think Justin Graver brought this up on the Football and Other F Words from last week, which you should go rate, review, subscribe, and listen to because it's great. And he brought up, the running back situation about Dontrell Hilliard catching 2 touchdown passes right out of the gate in the 7-on-7s in the red zone drills or whatever it was at OTAs. And he said he brought it up that's super important because maybe Hilliard's going to be what they thought Darrynton Evans was going to be, a healthier, change of pace back that can catch passes out of the back of the
the field. In the backfield where running back lines up. Let me ask you this. Yeah. Listen, we're back in the flow here. Okay, listen. This is early camp days for us too.
Yeah.
Here's what because I heard him talk about that with you. Great show, by the way. Check it out. I think. What's interesting is I think Hilliard fits more of the in case you need him break, Derrick Henry issue. I think he plays that role. I think Haskins is the better pure pass catcher of the group. I think we've said that on the show many times. I think it is the combination of the two trying to figure out where they fit in what plays.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I want when Derrick Henry needs to come out of the game or they're in a specific situation, I want them to have a clear role for each player as to what they are supposed like. All right, it's 3rd and 8. We're going to run this play. The angle route over the middle needs to be Haskins because it's a harder throw. It's a direct throw, or maybe it's to a corner route. Maybe that's Hilliard. I just want to see them, how they work, because I really like the 3 of them together. I just want to see how which plays work best for which players.
It will be interesting because I don't know if Haskins will get as many snaps as what he may deserve to get right out of the gate. I think they're going to it's kind of going to be like Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry. It's going to be kind of like Jeremy McNichols and Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry and Dontrell Hilliard. But the point is, who is catching touchdown passes from Ryan Tannehill in these drills? Chig Okonkwo, who is catching touchdowns from Ryan Tannehill all through OTAs. Does that continue in training camp? Because you know what that tells you? What that tells you as a fan, and what I'm telling you that tells you, is that means that Chig is the next guy, is number 2 tight end. He's got Ryan Tannehill's trust, and that's super important. If you see Chig suddenly on, just playing with Logan Woodside and playing with Malik Willis, and it's Jeff Swaim is now the guy catching touchdowns, something has happened that we're not a privy to.
Yeah, and to your point about, again, this goes to the running backs as well. How are they being used?
Yeah.
If it's 1st and 10 on your own 35 and they're not running red zone drills, then I could see Jeff Swaim getting the call as the number 2 tight end and using him in the motion packages because they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, whether that's 12 or 13, even with 3 tight ends. The key is, what does that 12 personnel look like in the red zone? Mm-hmm. And I think you're absolutely right. If they are in that situation, the idea is that Austin Hooper is your all-around tight end and that Chig becomes your bonus piece that you get to play with. And if he's not in on red zone packages, then I agree with you. The wide receiver rotation is in the same category.
And the wide receiver and the cornerbacks, both rotations. I mean, you want to see Treylon Burks at this point, because of all the negative press that he's gotten. You want to see Treylon Burks mentioned in as many good times as possible, whether that's catching touchdowns or making deep grabs while he's covered or getting yards after the catch and breaking a tackle. That stuff matters. When they face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and do practices, it matters for Caleb Farley. How is he covering Chris Godwin or Mike Evans? And is he keeping up with them? And is Treylon Burks able to bust through that defense? And is Ryan Tannehill going to have time to throw to these guys with this offensive line? Because it all hinges on who's going to be at left guard and what Dylan Radins could do.
So I want to get to that in a second. We're going to get to players that we think need to take a jump in this training camp. We got some Ryan Tannehill numbers that you did some research on the Twitters there. Also some quarterback tiers.
Yeah.
No, not these kind. Yeah, like where are players ranked, which is really, really important. I think the one position drill and the one position that we're probably both focused on, and I want to left guard is it. I want to throw something out at you. I think from talking to a lot of people at practice, it feels like Aaron Brewer is the guy, that it's not much of a competition. I would say, having watched Jamarco Jones, it doesn't feel like he's going to unseat Aaron Brewer. Do you think that is fair? Like, are you excited about that? Do you want it to be Jones? Do you want Jones to play the role of backup?
I do not want it to be Jones. Okay. Now, that does not necessarily mean that I want Aaron Brewer to be the final answer to the question, because I'm still an Eric Flowers Hive guy. I'm still there waiting on him to be signed.
Eventually, every day the price goes down, and you would think that they would be an option for him at some point.
But I think it's Aaron Brewer's job to lose. I think people place too much emphasis on, well, he got paid, $4.8 million. Well, that's $2 million less than Kendall Lamb. And what did Kendall Lamb do last year? Okay, so spare me. Listen, the Tennessee Titans do not care about, after they pay a guy, whether that guy does not get that guy. The Tennessee Titans do not run it to where if they pay a guy a certain amount of money, that guy has to start.
It is a meritocracy.
He has to earn it.
It is a meritocracy. So, Vic Beasley, Kevin Dodd, they will cut bait on you so fast if you're not good.
Yeah. So spare me that, because Jamarco Jones got paid $4.8 million and he was one of the first people I think he was the first free agent that was announced to signing. It doesn't matter. Look at Kendall Lamb. Look at the history of what this team tells you. And that's the theme for this season. What does history tell you about the Tennessee Titans and why you shouldn't overreact or react in certain ways? So to me, Jamarco Jones is the guy earning it. Aaron Brewer is the guy that's already earned it because he's already been there for 2 years.
Yes, I completely agree with that. So now here's the question. Am I overreacting? Because we just told you guys not to overreact to what you saw at OTAs and minicamp. So maybe this is me not taking my own medicine here or my own advice. But it did not appear, and again, maybe the pads go on and he's different, but like, Jamarco Jones just didn't look like the same type of player as Nate Davis. He did, like, all the starting guys felt like they were up a notch athletically, from a footwork standpoint. But again, is that me overreacting to watching OTAs and minicamp and not like actual practice? Maybe that is. So got to be even on both sides.
When you're saying that a guy does not look good, that's not overreacting. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't look good later, right? And maybe he gets more comfortable in the system and he shows whatever they saw in him. He rewards them. But at a certain point, a guy's just a guy. Kendall Lamb was just Kendall Lamb.
Yeah,
he wasn't the answer at right tackle. He was never supposed to be the answer at right tackle. And I think what they've gotten is now another swing tackle that can basically replacing Kendall Lamb. I think Aaron Brewer is replacing Roger Saffold, who I'm glad is okay after a scary car wreck this weekend. But
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he's injured.
I was hiking through the mountains this weekend. I did not see the internet. So if it happened on the internet this weekend, I was with my 5 and 4-year-old and wife on her birthday in the mountains. Happy birthday! So I needed to unplug, which is also why I'm so refreshed and energized for camp, because media days is behind us. Titans camp is here. Football is coming. Could not be more excited about it. I think to me, I want to see, let's say by Friday, 3 days of practice.
3 days of practice.
I think it could be early in the camp that you see it where consistently it is Lewan, Brewer, Jones, Davis, Radens. And if that's the 5 consistently 3-4 days into camp, I think that's a pretty good sign for the Titans, in my opinion.
Well, I think Brewer just has such a leg up on Jamarco Jones. He's familiar with the system. He's familiar with the guys he's playing between. He knows the offense. You know, he knows what Ryan Tannehill wants, needs. He knows who he needs to block, and he's athletic. Like that guy totally is super. He may be lightweight. I mean, he's not. Yes. He, as far as we know, he's not over 300 pounds. We don't know if he's added weight or anything.
He is possibly lighter than Treylon Burks.
Yeah. 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 He's definitely way more in shape than Treylon Burks. It's possible. But you're talking about a guy that can run right behind Derrick Henry, almost pace for pace in Aaron Brewer. And that's how athletic he is. And he's determined too. He had an interview with Jim White at TennesseeTitans.com, and he knows people doubts him. He is determined to prove them wrong, and that's what he does when he goes out in the field. I have a hard time thinking that just because Jamarco Jones is getting paid $4.8 million over 2 years, that he is somehow this, unbenchable player.
Anything under $5 million a year, and you're like expendable.
Yeah, and it's not even per year. It's right. It's 4.8 over 2.
Right, exactly. All right, you want to get into otherwise DB rotation is the only other thing I'm really watching. When they're in nickel, when they're in dime, how many safeties? Is it Theo Jackson? Is it Roger McCreary? Is Molden with Farley and Bolton? I think it's so interesting.
Well, it's super interesting, and I think someone at the Kyle Krabs of the Draft Network talked about McCreary versus Molden. That is maybe that's the one to watch, but the Tennessee Titans obviously play the most dime, or one of the teams that play the most dime packages in the NFL. So my question to you, this is a question that's been hopping around here and there in a couple of articles. It's also been in the group chat, the good group chat that is smart about football. Sorry to those in the bad group chat. That don't
Wait, does everybody in the group chat know which group chat they're in? Okay, so they're self-aware.
They'll know who it is. I'll get mentioned in Twitter over.
All right.
But I think that there's a lot of talk about McCreary taking the starting spot from Molden, and I think that's crazy because I also think Molden has probably the best chance to make a huge, massive Christian Fulton-like second-year jump.
I think it completely depends on the situation in the matchup.
What is the matchup for each of those guys?
So to me, if you're going up against Nehemiah Hines in the slot, let's say against the Colts,
is it not Nyheim
Hines? Either one.
Okay,
whatever. My bad. Again,
I've heard it both ways.
Early camp for us here. NC State grad. How about that? I know where he went to college. I can't say his first name. If he's in the slot, I would prefer maybe Roger McCreary be in there because of the quickness, the speed. If he is matched up against a smaller, quicker slot receiver in a 3 wide out package, or running back that's smaller and quicker, I want McCreary out there. If it is a bigger package, a more heavy run team with an extra tight end or a big tight end on that side, I want Molden. Like Molden to me is the guy that I want blitzing off the edge, that I want matched up in the run game, that I want in there when it is a bigger, more physical game. If the matchup is a more speed, space-oriented game and you're out in space and you're going to have to cover people down the field, then I might want McCreary to be more involved in that. To me, that's the difference between the two players.
Okay, I like that.
They're built very differently.
So I want to ask you a question, because let's take this defensive roster that you see in 2022 and put it against the Cardinals in 2021 versus Christian Kirk in the slot.
McCreary. Yeah.
Okay. What if it was Jamison Crowder in the slot?
I mean, Molden would push him around, which would be good, but
because Christian Fulton covered him last year because of injuries.
I think McCreary still. Here's the thing. Like I love both of these players.
Yeah.
Like I liked them in college. I think they are both prototypical Titans brand players. They are heady, smart football IQ guys that know every bit of their technique down to the last finger and muscle they're supposed to. Like they are so fundamentally sound. Molden, I just love Elijah Molden for what he is, but he is.
Don't forget, he crawled under someone to get a sack.
He is built like a truck, but just like a short, not fast truck.
It's like Colorado.
Roger McCreary is much thinner. They are not even close to the same body type. And McCreary is much faster and can go down the field. So to me, McCreary is your clear number 3 outside guy and maybe your backup slot guy, where Molden is your clear top slot guy and Fulton and Farley are to me, that's what makes it so interesting is they can mix and match with all these pieces with the matchup that they have. I want Molden on the field as much as possible. That's what I would say first and foremost. Not only is he a year older, I think he's more versatile. I think he's more dynamic, and you can play him in the box. You can play him in the red zone. You can play him on 3rd and short. I just want Molden on the field as many snaps as possible. I want McCreary sort of like coming along as the season comes along. That's how I would look at it.
There's a lot of people who think McCreary is just going to push Molden out, and I don't know why they think that Molden's going to go down without a fight, and why they think McCreary, a rookie, is so much better than Elijah Molden.
Why would maybe because he's more of a pure cover corner, but like why would you not? You tell me, why would you? What's the argument for Elijah Molden to be on the bench?
Yeah, I don't see one. I don't know one. Because like you said, he's physical. He can cover tight ends. He can knock the ball out. He knows, he's so smart. And I'm not saying this is not a knock on McCreary, but why mess up a good thing? Why take a good player off the field to maybe perchance to have a good player?
So TD and I talked about this. Tron Davenport and I talked about this when they drafted Molden. He is Logan Ryan.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
I think he may end up having a better career than Logan Ryan. But I know that's a lot of hype, but I was just so in love with the prospect.
Yeah.
And that he landed to the Titans in the 3rd round is one of the biggest steals of that draft.
So Logan Ryan started outside, and then as he got a little slower, learned how to play in the slot, closer to the line of scrimmage, blitz off the edge, be that more versatile vocal leader. Like Molden kind of came out of college ready-made for that role. And that, again, that's the difference. I think they're different players that do different things depending on the matchup and the location on the field, which if I'm a Titans fan, I love, because then we can be we can be real versatile on how we're going to match up with people. So,
yeah.
All right.
It goes into players that the Titans needs, talking about defensive backs, and it's Caleb Farley.
Yeah, Caleb Farley, and you've said this all along, and I've kind of come around on it because I'm sort of, I'll believe it when I see it with the knee and how healthy he is, and playing outside corner is a very difficult thing. He looks bigger. He looks stronger, at least in OTAs and minicamp. He's probably on the Treylon Burks diet, but I think he needs to be you've said this, I'll agree with you on this and then let you run here. He needs to be a starting true number 1 outside corner, because that's where he was drafted. That's what his job is, and that's what he looks like.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. You want him to be on day one. I think this team is more than any team that we've seen under the Vrabel area, and probably for a long time under the Tennessee Titans, pretty set at multiple positions in the depth chart. Like, I think this is one of the easiest depth charts to guess.
Yeah.
And it should be Caleb Farley and Christian Fulton. And I think anybody trying to create something else, unless Caleb Farley is just terrible, then they're just trying to create something, content for clicks, empty calories.
Calories, baby.
And I think that for this team to go from great on defense to elite on defense, which is very close.
I mean, they were already, they were borderline.
It's so close, is that they have to have that second cornerback spot, that Caleb Farley spot, be as good as what Christian Fulton was last year. That's all he needs to be. Yeah. Christian Fulton will be better than Caleb Farley, more than likely. If I was a betting man
this year, yes.
Yeah. Christian Fulton will be better this year.
Yeah.
But if Caleb Farley could be Christian Fulton of last year, because that Christian Fulton is great, then you have an elite defense.
You a little banged up, a little herky-jerky in your first season, a true dependable starting corner in your second season. That's what Christian Fulton did. I think that's what we're expecting Caleb Farley to do. It is what he needs to do. A couple of quick questions here back on the Molden thing here. It says, Donnie said, will they be able to say who the 3 safeties are on the field? I think Theo Jackson right now is number 3, but I do think Molden plays a lot of that role. A lot of you guys chiming in here. So I'm excited to see, this is from Donovan, I'm excited to see how the defense uses Weaver as well. I think he can play all over the defensive line. We'll have some time to talk defensive line as the camp goes along, but I agree. He is sort of the Elijah Molden of the defense. But again, you've said this. He is the next version of Denico Autry, which I agree with as well. So Stoney, of course, who do you trust more if it's a matchup that could go either way? Big physical blocker and or speedy, shifty receiving threat. George Kittle, Austin Eckler as examples. I would go with Molden. I would go with Molden for those specific matchups right now. Maybe he's not good enough in man-to-man. I don't know.
Yeah, Molden on Kittle, and I think Molden could do both of those things. I think Molden is maybe not college elite athlete, but I think he's like easily an NFL athlete. He's not that great or spectacular, and obviously McCreary's probably a little bit better, but his technique makes up for anything that he lacks.
And I think you were about to say you like maybe McCreary with Eckler, and I could see that as well. And a correction for Donnie, said he meant, am I able to discuss what the Titans are with their strict media policies? We do not know through OTAs and minicamp really who the third safety is. My guess is having watching them rotated and all that stuff and who's in second, first team, like they want to use Theo Jackson in a pretty versatile way. Same thing with Molden, same thing with Weaver. Like they're going to use a lot of pieces on defense in a lot of different ways, depending on matchup and who's hot and which player is doing what. Like that's what makes this defense really special. And before we get to the offensive line, I think that third safety spot is a little under talked about potentially. If it's a true rookie that's going to be playing that third safety spot and there's a drop off or one of the hooker or Byard has to come off the field, they're going to be putting a lot of faith in someone who doesn't have a ton of experience, no matter what they have.
Yeah, it was Justin Graver talked about it. And of course you can read it over at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. But there's a article with an interview with Amani Hooker by Justin Mello. And he unprompted brought up how impressed he was with Theo Jackson. Unprompted. So that is, and
they like
we know that Theo Jackson's from Nashville. You may not have heard that, but he is from Nashville. So that helps.
Did he play in the state? Did he play college football here too?
So that helps.
That helps. That helps how he died. Well, if you're diagnosing Russell Wilson's
it helps
play action pass.
Nashville.
It helps that you're from Nashville.
Yeah, that you went and watched Tennessee Titans play.
Yep.
But no, it's a good thing
point,
that Amani Hooker brought that up without prompt, and that gives you a little bit of calm, but it still is an undecided. See, the thing is whether it's going to be three safeties or really whether it's going to be Theo Jackson's just a backup.
I think that's you're probably seeing Molden and McCreary in there first.
Yeah, over Theo Jackson.
Before you see Theo Jackson. Now, the difference is that Theo Jackson can back up Molden in the slot potentially and play backup safety should anything happen to Byard or Hooker. But I do like when you watch Tennessee. This goes back to Traylon Burks in Arkansas. If you watch Tennessee football games, Volunteers, Alontae Taylor got all the hype and all the praise and got drafted very highly. Theo Jackson's the guy who showed up on tape.
Right.
Like coming up into the box, making plays, making tackles, doing all the things he's supposed to. Theo Jackson was the guy that kind of popped on film a lot more. And it wasn't hard to see that. Now, sometimes if you're a cover corner and you're doing your job, they don't throw at you, and that's why you don't pop on film. But I think Theo popped on film enough to know, and then I trust the Titans evaluation process and how they like versatile players. And he was kind of part of the second team right off the bench when Byard and Hooker were out of the game in red zone drills during OTAs and warm-ups. So I think they're very, very high on Theo Jackson. All right, you want to do offensive line?
Yeah, because I think we need to decide here and now. Dylan Radins is the most important piece of this offensive line as far as the players that the Titans need to make that jump. Or do you think it's old Taylor Lewan back?
So that's what I was gonna ask you is it Taylor Lewan, Nate Davis, Ben Jones, the three leaders and the veterans being as good as they possibly can be? Or do you just that's not even a consideration? You don't worry about that, and it's more important that the right tackle is better.
I think that's what it is that I feel like they're going to be who they are. And okay. I think that it really comes down to Dylan Radins at the right tackle because you want to see that second round pick step up, and you need someone better than listen, you don't need Dylan Radins to be an all-pro. You just need him to be better than David Quessenberry. That's it. That's all you need. It's kind of like when we talked about the 2020 defense. We said the Tennessee Titans can make the playoffs and make a run as long as they just make it to like 21, just not dead last. And that's what Dylan Radins needs to be. He just doesn't need to be as bad as David Quessenberry was.
It doesn't feel like a high bar to clear.
Yeah.
Is that better or worse than Dennis Kelly? It's worse than Dennis Kelly, I think, right? By a notch.
Yeah. If you're saying that all he has to be, if what you're saying is that all he has to be is just a tad bit better than Scott or David Quessenberry, then he's not as good as Dennis Kelly because Dennis Kelly was way better than.
If you don't have to, if you're asking Dylan Radins to not be quite as good as Dennis Kelly, I feel like that's something we should be able to accomplish this year.
Yeah, and listen, I say we, you know,
we're on the team.
We're the coaches, and we want them. I think that you want to see him be Dennis Kelly. Minimum. I mean, that's what you want. That would be ecstatically the best thing ever, right? I mean, like if he made a jump and he was right out of the gate David Kelly instead of right out of the gate Scott or David, I keep calling him Scott, David Quessenberry, and then he got better than David Quessenberry. It's better to have your starting point be Dennis Kelly and get better from there.
By the way, Zach playing hurt today. Just want to point out.
I am.
You're playing hurt today. I wasn't going to give that away. You're the one who gave it away. Ironically, I had a great night's sleep. I worked out this morning. I ate nothing but salads the last 24 hours, and I'm sweating more than the guy who's hungover.
I'm not a sweater.
Problem.
I know. Somehow keep it all in me, and it's horrible.
I hate the humidity. It's so bad. DK Titan says, don't forget, we also have Buster Screen in the DB room. I would also throw in Chris Jackson.
Yes.
Chris Jackson's a part of this conversation as well. All right. So I agree. It's Dillon Radunz is the most important piece on the offensive line because I am assuming that Lewan and Jones and Davis are stable. Like the Titans aren't going to have a good football team if you don't assume that those three are kind of at least something close to their peak.
At this point, if you're assuming the worst about those three, then you are
definitely
the team's awful because you can't afford all three of those. Listen, if Taylor Lewan isn't Taylor Lewan of 2020 before he got injured and he's still just 2021 Taylor Lewan, as long as he doesn't have to play Chandler Jones this year, then he should be fine. That's okay.
What did he have, like 5 sacks?
Oh, yeah, 5 sacks.
5 sacks.
And then he thanked him. Oh, thank you, Chandler Jones, for embarrassing me. Like, give me a fucking break.
I mean, maybe he motivated him for the rest of the year.
Maybe.
All right, are we done with players that need to take a jump? Because there's a lot of them. We'll get into more detail as the camp unfolds. And again, every Monday and Thursday, 1 o'clock, right here at the Cast Collective Studio, brought to you by Kingston Group. Zach and Braden here on a football show. All right, you want to try some Tannehill?
It's science. These fans have proven. The fans have scientifically proven, based on a sample size of 1,000 votes.
All you need is like 300, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That's what stats class taught me at UT.
Great, a massive sample size. Science has shown, based on polls on Twitter, that this team believes that Ryan Tannehill will be better than last year, which means that, and that is without a fan base that basically has said that the team is sunk on offense because they lost A.J. Brown. So I'm having a hard time reconciling all this stuff because if you think that Ryan Tannehill is going to be better, but the team has suffered so much that this offense is going to be worse, well, the only way Ryan Tannehill gets more passing yards than what he did last year is with the wide receivers that he's got.
Okay. I think that's clearly science, obviously. It's not even theories. These are laws now at this point. My question is more about the offensive line impact on all of this.
Yes.
Because I think so broadly, we'll get into the numbers in a second, but broadly, my opinion is that Ryan Tannehill will be slightly better this year. He's going to hit about his career averages, which would be better than last season because technically he was worse last year than most of his career averages.
I'd love to see him hit. I think he's going to hit 4,000 this year.
If he hits 4,000 and 25 touchdowns with a 7.2 yards per attempt, like without looking at the numbers, like that's about his career average. Again, his career averages are identical to Joe Flacco, for example. You don't want to. I don't know if you love looking at that, but I think you can be better and that the offense could be about the same because the offensive line isn't as good because Roger Saffold's not on the field. And maybe Aaron Brewer doesn't work out. Maybe Dillon Radunz doesn't work out. Maybe Taylor Lewan's not as good. Like there are still, to me, far more questions about the offensive line than there are about Ryan Tannehill. That doesn't mean that I am saying that Ryan Tannehill should be their long-term solution at quarterback for the next 10 years because he's really old. But does that make sense? Like Tannehill can be slightly better. The offense can be about the same. They can win just as many games, but it be the offensive line's problem, not the receivers or Tannehill's.
Well, I think the thing to me is I'm just trying to show people that while A.J. Brown is a phenomenal talent, and while I'll say this, he is a top 20 wide receiver in the league. You know, at one point we thought that he was going to be top 5 or top 10, but he was woefully inconsistent last year. And a lot of that had to do with injuries. But if Tannehill was to get his career average, which is 231 yards per game, that's going to get you 3,927 yards this year.
That's better than last year.
That's better than last year.
Technically.
Yeah, technically.
His average is 7.3 yards per attempt. He was 7.0 last year. That's better, technically.
Yeah. I think that you're going to see more explosive plays. I think that's the thing is that people forget that last year there's a lot of factors, right? There's the injuries. There's the lack of chemistry. The offensive line is poor. But here's some things that you got to factor into Ryan Tannehill's performance last year. He had his receivers were by far the worst in the league with A.J. Brown, by the way, included in this, by far in the league at separating.
Well, and how many snaps were Julio and A.J. on the field for? Like, let's be honest.
They could not separate. I mean, they were the worst by far. I mean, when you look at the graph, there's Tennessee Titans. And then there's the New York Giants were better. Somehow the New York Giants wide receivers were better than Tennessee Titans wide receivers last year. And that's with A.J. Brown playing 14 games. And then the lack of explosive plays, because these wide receivers couldn't get open, because they couldn't get down the field. They were 28th in explosive play rate, if I recall correctly. Could be lower. Let's say
how about this? They weren't good.
They weren't good. And if they even improve that, then again, your yards go up, your yards per attempt go up. Tim Kelly was with Davis Mills and Brandon Cooks was I think 10 spots ahead in explosive play rate versus the Tennessee Titans. With Derrick Henry healthy, all this changes. AJ Brown, I think Justin put it best, is that wide receiver is probably the most easily replaceable position group to overcome a loss. Like, do you really think, okay, Davante Adams has gone out of Green Bay, he's just going to divvy it up among a bunch of different wide receivers and just focusing on Davante Adams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you trust Rodgers to be able to do that. Yeah. Like, it's interesting because, like, I would agree with this offense. It should be easier to replace receivers than running back. But in traditional settings, I would think it's harder to replace the receivers. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, this offense, the running back is more valued. In this offense, the receiving pieces are more interchangeable, if that makes sense. Again, you're not asking hopefully you're not asking Ryan Tannehill to throw the ball 48 times a game to win games by slinging it all over the place. But I do think the point, and Donovan says this, with Hooper and Phillips being there, like, they are a deeper, and you've said this all along, they are better from 1 to, let's say, 10, including tight ends and receivers and running backs. They are a far deeper collection of skill weapons around Ryan Tannehill this year than they were last year. So if Robert Woods and Treylon Burks get hurt, which is what happened with Julio and AJ last year, they've got Hassan Haskins. They've got a second tight end in Chig Okonkwo and Austin Hooper. They've now got Kyle Phillips on the roster, and Ndobai's a year older. Like, they have more options now, where there were certain games last year where you just look at a formation, you're going like, what the hell are they doing with those guys?
Well, I don't want it to think that I don't appreciate what AJ Brown did, but I'm also trying to view it in a realistic perspective. When you look at his stat lines, and everybody says we got to give AJ Brown the ball more. Okay, well, he got 8 targets. He turned those 8 targets into 49 yards. 9 targets, he turned it into 43. These are games that he didn't.
He averaged like 4 catches a game for his career here.
Yeah, like, I mean, we're talking about 11 targets here versus the Rams. He went 5 for 11 for 42 yards, and the Titans still won that game.
I think this is what happens. And AJ, this is not to be anti-AJ Brown talk here, because I think we all agree that he's the most talented wide receiver that's ever put on a Titans uniform.
He's woefully inconsistent.
But some of that's injury-based, some of that's offense-based, some of that. But, like, you can find a way to. This is like, I hate to quote Moneyball, but I love Michael Lewis, the author. Like, they're one of the scenes in the book, they were replacing Jeremy Giambi, and they're like, no, we need to replace his on-base percentage in the aggregate. And that's what, to me, that's what this is. This is 4 catches per game for 70 yards. That's it. That's what AJ Brown delivered over 3 years of being in Nashville. If you can figure out a way to aggregate 4 receptions for about 68, 70 yards, and I think it's, I want to say, what was it, like a touchdown every 2 games, basically?
Yeah, he had 5 last year.
Every 3 games you get a touchdown. That's what you're trying to aggregate from all the pieces you've brought in. And I think they can do that.
Yeah.
I think they can do that for the offense. It doesn't mean that you have a guy on the team that can do 20 targets for 11 catches and 150 yards and 2 touchdowns against San Francisco on a Thursday night.
Right.
Like, they don't have that guy yet that can single-handedly take over a game and just go out there and dominate and make
at least we don't know.
And we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
That's different than the collection every week, week in and week out, 3-year consistency that this group.
He averaged 62 yards a game last year, and he got 5 touchdowns. They can obviously replace that to maintain status quo, but the Titans will be better because they have Hooper, they have Phillips, they have Chig Okonkwo. It's just hard for me to see all these things and say they can't be better than last year.
At the start, we've done this before, so we can do it real fast. At the start of the season, game 1, when they go out there, assuming everybody's healthy in camp, right? They get to game 1 and they're healthy. Are they better at running back 1? They're the same.
Yes.
Are they better at running back 2? Yes. Are they better at running back 3?
Yes.
Yes. Are they better at tight end 1?
Yes.
Yes. Are they better at tight end 2?
Yes.
Yes. Are they better at tight end 3?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Are they better at wide receiver 1? Okay, maybe not.
No.
Are they better at wide receiver 2?
Yes.
Yeah. Wide receiver 3?
Same.
4?
Better.
5?
Better.
That of the 12 skill position players around Ryan Tannehill, we could argue that they are better at 10 of them, 9 of them, and the other ones, a couple of them, they're the same. I think that's the point we've been trying to make all offseason about the collection of skill players. Now, it needs to be put into placed the right way,
right,
by the right people doing the right things with the right schemes.
And that's what hopefully Tim Kelly does.
And that's what Tim Kelly does. Now, are we done with the science experiment?
Yeah.
Is it so the proven science? What's your thesis coming out of your science experiment?
My thesis is that everybody thinks that the large majority, the vast majority, thinks that he will get way more get more yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions, and more yards per attempt.
So all 4 major categories, Ryan Tannehill will be better. And the entire fan base agrees with you on that. Or that's what they said.
That's the majority of the fan base.
And you think it's funny because they all think he needs to be shipped out of town.
Yeah. Well,
way?
I think also people got to watch out for Ryan Tannehill having a chip on his shoulder, and with Malik Willis back there too.
Little motivation.
He may have a lot of motivation because right now they can easily cut him next year, right?
Yeah, they can. That's $58 million cap hits looming.
Yeah. So, but what if he balls out and they extend him? That's always.
I think it's
something
possible.
that I would do.
I think it's totally
maybe
possible.
not, but I think there's a real. I think fans need to start taking into account that if Ryan Tannehill, like you all say,
it's science,
guys, is gonna be better without AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Then this team should be better, and this team could wind up giving Ryan Tannehill an extension.
All right, let me ask you.
Or redoing it.
So can I just like the dream scenario? Because we're talking about now. Let's get to the content that's around Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Which is, and again, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I've clicked on any of them and read any of them because I haven't, because I spent all last summer trying to convince people that Ryan Tannehill wasn't a top 10 quarterback and then realized it was a stupid thing to do. It doesn't matter if he's ranked 9th or 13th. It doesn't matter if he's ranked 12th or 17th. It doesn't matter where he is ranked on the internet. All that matters is how he plays in a playoff game. And that's all that really matters in the 17 regular season games. But here's what I think would be just so good for us mostly.
Yes.
Is Ryan Tannehill's numbers get better, like you just showed. The fans they win a playoff game. Maybe they don't go to the Super Bowl, but they win a playoff game. So he exercises some demons.
They win a playoff game with him going like 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yes, and Derrick Henry wins, and the defense is great, and like I don't know how they're built. And he decides to play for like $3 million. Like Brady, remember Brady played for like $1 million that one year. Tannehill comes back, restructures the deal, and his cap hit goes from 58 to like 3. And he's just like, no, guys, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for Nashville. I'm going to do it for this organization. And he's going to make sacrifices for you, the fans, and for the organization. And you're all going to have to be like,
what have we done?
And he's going to be good enough to be like just close enough to Super Bowl caliber. You know what I mean? And it's not going to matter where he's ranked on the internet in the summertime. I just don't understand why we have to rank everything in the world. Like, be funny about rankings. Rank stupid shit.
Yeah.
We don't have to rank every real important thing because it doesn't actually matter.
I get to the point where I think the message of the good content in these. So like what we're referencing is Mike Sando of The Athletic. He's
a very good guy. He's a great guy.
He interviews the GMs. He interviews defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, coaches, all this stuff. He interviews people, and based on votes, he ranks them.
But at least there is some like substance to the people he's talking about. It's not like again,
it's lost. It gets lost because what people will do, they're going to scroll until they see their team's quarterback. And then they're going to see that their quarterback team, let's say Lamar Jackson's ranked 10th. I don't know what he was ranked, but Baltimore Ravens fans are going to see that and say, well, why is Joe Burrow ranked ahead of him? And blah, blah, blah. They're not going to read.
How many MVPs does Joe Burrow have?
They're not going to read the good information of what GMs say, what defensive coordinators say. And that to me is why I hate the tier format. I hate the list format because it takes away. I enjoy reading what the content is underneath where it says number 17, Ryan Tannehill.
There's nuggets in there.
I like that part.
Yeah.
But I know that the only way that they get clicks and get paid is that they do a tier ranking. Yeah, and to me, it just is. It takes away from the whole thing, and I don't care. Like if someone will just send something and say, "Well, I can't believe they have Matt Ryan ranked ahead of Ryan Tannehill in this." Who gives a flying fuck?
So here's
these are like Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinators voting. I mean, are they really the smartest people on the planet? Some of these coaches.
This is what I would say. I said it last summer. I said it after the game last year against Cincinnati. I said it this summer. I said it last summer. Can the Tennessee Titans win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill? And the answer is yes. He has to play really well. The defense has to be really good, and the running game has to be solid. But yes, the answer is yes. Stetson Bennett just won a national championship with one of the best defenses. Like, the answer is yes, you can do it. Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl with a great supporting cast. You can win. Great head coach, too. Let's throw that in there. That's all that matters. Is he the thing that maybe holds them back long term? Maybe it is. But let's see it play out some more.
There's just so much more to focus on about this team than where where a player on your favorite team ranks in an arbitrary list, because that's what it is. It's all arbitrary.
I'm ranking him 14th.
Oh, wow.
I don't know who's ahead of him or who's behind him, but he's 14th.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know why, but I just kind of feel good about it. 14th.
You got him at 18?
Yeah, boy.
How dare you?
I know. That's the thing. Asshole. These tier lists, and then people like, what's it gonna? I saw one today. I don't know who said it, but it was like, what's it gonna take for fans to believe in Treylon Burks? Like, why are they not believing in him right now? He hasn't even taken a snap.
He's never been a game. He's never played a professional game in his career.
That's why I'm so glad training camp's here, because maybe we can find some good. We will, but maybe us as a whole, the Titans community, can find good storylines to talk about.
Look, this is a college football magazine by Athlon Sports. No free shot. We get paid to rank teams because a committee. Oh, look at that free postage in there. A committee will rank teams at the end of the year to determine a champion. That ain't how the NFL works.
Right.
It is a results-oriented business, and you either win the game or you don't. And that's it. It's all that matters in the NFL. While I love the imperfections of the college game, I love the crystal clear nature of the NFL game. Yep. And we will learn all about all of this stuff as the season goes along. And that's the fun of being a fan of football.
And that's the fun of being on this show, because we're going to let you know what to pay attention to.
Lists of quarterbacks.
Shoot them in the sun.
Shoot them in the sun. If you want to get wasted on a Saturday night and argue about where your quarterback is ranked, be my guest. Don't invite me. Okay.
Yeah, it's good bar talk.
Maybe it is, but even then, not on the
is Matt Stafford elite? I think is a great bar talk.
Why?
I don't know. It's just because people really think that he's elite, and I don't see it.
He's a pretty damn good quarterback.
He's a damn good quarterback, but he's not elite.
He's a great pitch man in advertising.
Oh yeah, he's really good in that.
He's really good in that commercial, and he's got a ring on his finger, and he's the most talented Georgia quarterback in the history of Georgia football. How about that?
I like it.
All right, Zach, where should people sign up? Where should they click on all the notifications? Where can they go listen to you and read all your other stuff?
440 Sports YouTube page. Get on there and go and subscribe, hit notifications on. Then also go to the 440 Sports Twitter app and Twitter account, and let them know by following them and turning on their notifications. Then go to the 440 Sports Facebook page and turn on notifications over there, because there you go. Good things come in threes.
There you go. Donnie says y'all are great with addressing comments. Love this show. Donnie, tell everyone you know
to watch the
about the product. Share some links in your text thread, in your group thread, and no empty calories. Football show, of course, here on the 440 Sports Network. You want college football content? We're going to cover that this year as well, but also Fringe Element podcast, of course, on the YouTube page. As well, we're sitting here. My co-host on that show, Aaron Dugan, is standing behind the camera right now, and we are in her wonderful, amazing studio, The Cast Collective on Music Row. So check it out, thecastcollective.com, as well as all over the IG. Just check them out on IG. You'll find them. And of course, special thanks to Kingston Group. BuildKG.com is the website for all of your big needs around the house. Why would you make any major financial decisions without talking to professionals? I do not understand why you would do that. BuildKG.com, the Kingston Group, Nashville's locally owned, award-winning custom home and remodeling firm, and they bring you this product every Monday and Thursday for free. For Zach, I am Braden. Football camp is here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for rating, reviewing, subscribing. This has been a football show.